Hello. I'm Raymond Burr. And as a result, I've become keenly interested in the subjects of law and criminology. One thing I've learned, to get at the root of a crime, to establish guilt, you must first determine a motive. The case you're about to see is a baffling one, for there is no apparent motive. Victims suffer, and the guilty continue to operate unpunished until something strange happens. Let's see if you can find the motive and then the guilty party in the case of When Sally Fell.
It takes an awful lot to make some people happy, but me, well, I get a big kick out of just driving down the street in our part of town. I get a real proud feeling when I turn into our block on my way home from work. Sally and I saved for a long time to buy a house in this area, ever since Tommy was a baby. See, there it is now, the one on the corner. It's pretty nice, huh? We've had it pretty good here. That is, until recently. Everything was just fine until that Tuesday night. I was relaxing, feeling pleased with myself. You see, I just had a talk with Mr. Jenkins. He's my boss at the Mills Engine Company. You've probably heard of him. That engine is one of theirs. Anyway, old Jenkins had given me a raise, a good one, and had made me supervisor of my group, which is no mean job, believe you me. The kids were watching TV as usual. There was something good on, Peter Pan, I think it was. Not that I looked at it, I looked at them looking at it. There are some things I'd rather watch through their eyes than my own, you know what I mean? That's Sally, my wife. She was busy cleaning up the supper dishes. Even though she was smiling as usual, she'd had a hard day that Tuesday, but it wasn't quite over yet. She was a bit tired, but she'd decided she'd get everything clean and shipshape anyway. She figured she'd even put away the last of the preserves she'd made earlier. That's the way she is, my Sally. Once she sets her mind on something, she does it. All of a sudden, our happy little world changed.
Sally? Sally, are you all right?
Oh, my back. My back.
Now, don't move, darling.
What's happened to Mommy? Don't cry, Mom.
Hello, is the doctor there? Yes, please, it's an emergency.
What's happened to you, Mom? Sorry, darling, I can't. No. What's happened to Mommy? Mommy's crying, Daddy.
Shut up, Tommy.
What's happened to Mommy? What's happened to my Mommy?
Tommy, I'm sorry. Mommy fell and she hurt her back. Hello, doctor. Yes, this is Harry Carter. We've had a terrible thing happen here. My wife...
This is the story of what happened to all of us, beginning on that Tuesday night when Sally fell. It could have been worse, the doctor said, much worse. But as it was, she'd have a few days of pain and would have to stay a total of 6 weeks in the hospital. After that, she'd have a few more weeks of taking it easy at home. It took a while for it to sink into me that Sally wasn't going home with me that night as usual. It was even harder to accept the fact that she wasn't going to be home with us for at least another 6 weeks. Funny how you always take things for granted. How many guys ever worry about who's going to take care of their kids if something happens to their wife? Boy, I never did. But I sure started worrying about it then. Our next-door neighbor, Helen Davis, had stayed with the kids that night while I went to the hospital with Sally. but I had to find someone to take care of them while I was at work. Fall was really in the air. I hadn't noticed the chill when we came in. The doctor had said she would be completely recovered by Thanksgiving. Well, Thanksgiving was a long way off, but we could manage. We'd have to manage. At first, we did manage, and it wasn't too bad. Mrs. Wilson, who lives a couple of blocks from our house, looked after the kids till my mother could come. Sometimes it was sort of hectic in the morning, and I'd be a little late getting off to work, but all in all, we were doing all right. The kids were great. Linda was trying very hard to act grown up and do her share around the house, even though she missed her mommy. And Tommy, well, he was a real little man. Sally was terrific, too. She was really brave. But then problems started cropping up.
I've been working on the whalewood.
First, there was the babysitter problem. My mother was willing at first.
Tommy, where are you?
Just the time the pets away. Cow!
Oh, for goodness sake. Come here and sit down and eat your dinner.
But it turned out that her patience was shorter than it used to be.
Rise, drop some wine in the oil. Pow! Grandma, look what I did.
Poor Mom. She just couldn't take it. And the other babysitters didn't turn out very well for one reason or another. One fed the kids cookies by the barrel. Either the kids weren't fed properly, or even worse, they were completely neglected. Boy, some of those sitters were just too much. And you'd be surprised how expensive they were day in and day out, especially considering there were other bills by the dozen, helping to eat up the few nickels Sally and I had saved. The money was going as the whale had eaten Jonah, in one bite. Things were rough all over. The kids wouldn't eat the food I cooked.
Can't we have peanut butter?
No, you eat that.
But this is just awful, Dad.
Boy, did they get on my nerves.
You eat it or there's going to be trouble. Believe you me. You too.
Daddy, do we have to eat it? Do we have to eat all of it, Dad?
At the same time, I felt so darn sorry for them. They seemed so pale and miserable.
I'll get it.
I was sure it was Sally calling.
Okay.
So I went where I could be comfortable before I answered.
Hello? Oh, hi, Mr. Jenkins. How are you?
It was my boss at the Mills Engine Company.
Oh, no.
It turned out I'd been thinking of babysitters that day instead of engines. And boy, had I made a mistake.
Yes, Mr. Jenkins. Well, Yes, sir. Good night, sir.
From then on, it was pretty tense, believe you me. The kids got worse and worse, and life at the plant was no joke. One more goof, and I'd had it. And although I never told Sally, I think she knew.
Darling, if only I hadn't been so stupid.
It wasn't your fault. No one falls on purpose.
It was ridiculous. If I'd used the stepladder, I wouldn't...
Cheer up, darling.
Such a pointless waste of time and money. And happiness.
Well, at least you got some reading done.
I'm sorry, Hal.
Oh, now cut it out, will you? You're the one that's having a hard time. The kids and me, we're fine. But she knew I was lying. She knew I thought the whole thing was miserable, the whole deal. You know, I used to get sore just looking at other people's houses. Boy, were they lucky. I thought, oh, Sally, I can hardly wait till you come home again.
We've been waiting for a Can't you see our mommy's coming? Coming home today. Mommy's coming home. Mommy's coming home. Mommy's coming home today. Mommy's coming home. Mommy's coming home. Mommy's coming home today. Mommy's coming home. Mommy's coming home. Mommy's coming home today. Hey, let's go look for Mommy. Hey, Mommy! 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 Mommy, we got a big celebrration. Grandma had a lesson. We got balloons and decorations. Mommy, I have it in my hand.
Oh, darling, so darling.
And you're not gonna have to work at all, Mommy. Mommy, you can see it breathe. Mommy, Mommy.
Yes, darling.
It was alive.
Come on. Let's take Mommy inside and show her our surprise.
Okay, come on, Mommy.
There.
Of course, it would be some time before Sally could take on her full-time job as homemaker. But the worst was over, and I had had time to think about what happened. I wondered why it had never occurred to me before that the attitude towards safety, which was part of daily life at the plant, belongs in our home as well.
I wonder why it had never occurred to me that protecting myself and my children and my husband from such useless accidents as falls is an essential part of protecting our health. It's just as important as the right food, as medical checkups and polio shots. A fall can be just as crippling as polio. It can even be fatal.
It was a school holiday for the kids, and Mr. Jenkins had given me the morning off. So after breakfast, we decided to look around the house. A fall on this thing can break your leg or your back. This is just as dangerous, and it only takes a few minutes to fix. And as for that beat-up ladder by the basement door, it should have been made into firewood long ago. There were many other places where a little effort now would save a lot of misery later. And once we started thinking about them, everyone had ideas.
Roller skates on the stairs.
Said Sally.
Making sure no one slipped in the ice in the winter or anything. Don't leave open cans of paints or varnishes in the basement.
Said Tommy. It was all a matter of common sense, of profiting by the unpleasant experience we had had to live through.
But what about them, Dad?
Okay. What about you? Will you protect your family's health now by making your home a safe place to live in? Or will you wait until it's too late, as we did? If you do wait, you can be sure of one thing. An accident will happen.
Believe you him.
That's right, Tommy. Believe you me.
Could you qualify as a witness in such a case? Or would you be an accessory after the fact? Maybe you're the accused, with the victim being either yourself or a loved one. You have just seen a small portion of the testimony in the People versus Accidents in the Home. Every year in our country, hundreds of thousands are seriously injured or maimed for life from an easily avoidable fall right in their own homes. Many lose their lives. Of course, as you saw, there is no motive for these unfortunate crimes, but the guilt is easy to find. If you're one of the guilty parties, you'll go unpunished until something strange happens. I shouldn't think you'd care to wait, especially when it's so easy to do something positive now. Just be aware. Develop sound safety habits right in your own home. Teach them to your children.